Hello, I've had a couple questions about making reading logs for classrooms. Some different teachers have requested it, so I'm going to make a quick video to show you um, how to make a reading log in your classroom and use it like I use it in mine. So I'm going to give you basically a quick demo on Doctopus, how to find the reading log template, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to try and do this in one take, so bear with me, and I apologize if there's some awkward pauses at any point in the screencast. So before you begin and before you start to actually share this document in Doctopus, there's a couple things you need to do on or in your drive in Google. The first thing you need to do is you need to set up a class roster with your email and names. And I just made a sample roster that I will show you here quick. In your roster, you need to make sure that you include the headings first name, last name, email. You could also include a third column or fourth column, I'm sorry. That would be groups or group um, if you want to share out to different groups of students. For this assignment or for this example or screencast, we're not sharing to different groups. We're just sharing to our whole class. So I'm not going to include that last column there. So this is an example of my sample roster. You need to include the top column again needs to include the first name, last name, and email. Because the script Doctopus uses it later on to share all these files out. So make sure that you have these in your sample roster. And then these are obviously just fake student names and fake student emails so that I could show you how to do this. I didn't want to put my students out on YouTube. So, alright, so the first thing you need to do is make that class roster. The second thing that you need to do is you need to take the reading log, and you're basically going to be using this first reading log as a template. So to get the reading log, it's very simple. I shared it in, what is this called? I shared it in the template gallery, and it's just a reading log, and it shows that there's 11 users that have used it. So all you need to do is go to Student Reading Log and select Use this template, and it will open and it will say copy of student reading log. Now, you don't need to do anything with this page right now because it's already created. It's already saved in your drive, so you can close it when it opens. Just close this menu out and go back to my drive or your drive up on top, and you'll see that copy of student reading log showed up in your drive. Okay, so we've done two things now. We've created our class roster, and we have also created a template. In this case, you just took the template that I've already made and you saved it to your drive. The last thing you need to do is you need to make a folder where you're going to save all of your reading logs that will be shared out with your students. So to do that, you just go up here to the top. Make sure you're in My Drive, or if you have like a student work folder, you could create your folder somewhere in there with reading and reading logs or something like that. I save it in my my personal reading files. So there's my roster to my reading log, which I can show you later if you need to see it. Anyways, so step one, create a class roster with your email and names, which I did. Step two is to take the document, the template, which is basically going to be the form that you will see. And if I open this up, I'll show you kind of what this is. It's just the spreadsheet, and then you can view the form if you go to live form here, and that's just showing you what I've created that I've shared with you. Oh, you can change. You do actually have to go into that edit form because you want to think about how many minutes before you share this with any of your students. You want to go into your edit form. So when it's open here right away, you want to just change right here. You want to change how many minutes you're going to have the kids read, and then you want to change how many times per week. I've been having my fourth graders do it 4 times per week. It's probably a little bit too much because if they don't do it on like Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, then they have to do 2 logs one of the days. So 3 is probably a good number to start with. I'm regretting now that I've started with 4. I wish I would have started with 3. I'm gonna back it off here though in the next couple weeks with my class. So make sure you change these in there. All you gotta do is highlight it and change it, and make sure you hit the save button when you're done. Okay? I'm just gonna close it and close this. And again, sorry I'm getting repetitive. 3 things. I keep getting distracted, and I'm gonna do this in one take. 3 things: class roster, okay, with the names and email addresses in it. You need the document template, which I have right here, and then finally you need to create a folder, and I will create that folder right now. And the folder is basically where you're going to store these reading logs so that you can check in on them if you need to. So let's just call it sample reading log. So I've created that folder and it pops up in here, right here. Okay, so those are the 3 things you need to do to start. After you do those 3 things, you go into your roster, your sample class roster that you had, and you need to install the Doctopus script. And what Doctopus does is it makes copies of your reading log, and it's going to share it with the student, and it's going to basically rename it for each student and save it in their drive so that they each have a copy of their own. So, your in-class roster, what you need to do now is you need to go into Tools and Script Gallery. And when you're in the Script Gallery, there is typically Doctopus is right at the top. I don't know why it's at the top, but it is. If it's not there, you can search for it in the search feature here. So Doctopus is right there, and you'll have to do this every time you use Doctopus. You can't just, put it in your spreadsheet one time and it's in all of your spreadsheets. You have to do it in every spreadsheet every time you want to share something. In this case, we're going to install Doctopus, and it takes a couple seconds. Hopefully it works. So I've used Doctopus for a couple different applications in my room so far. It's worked out pretty well. I really like it. All you have to do is say authorize. After it runs, it says now you can run it. You just close, and it shows you with this green box right here that it's installed. You can either hit close down here or the X up on top. And after a couple seconds, the Doctopus toolbar will come up at the top. So now all you need to do is go into Doctopus and start to run this installation. So I'm going to say launch installation, and it says it's running the script, and we kind of be patient and wait. Alright, so what kind of doc are we sharing? In this case, for this reading log, we're sharing the same document to all of our students. If I were to share it to the whole class, they would all get the same document, and everyone could edit, and everyone's responses would be on the same document. I want them to have their own. So I'm going to say individual all the same. You should leave this at no access. This means that no other students in your class can have access. The only people that will have access to the document are the teacher and the student who you want to share it with. Finally, you get down to the bottom here. You can leave the email addresses out here. This is just if you want to include others. I never put anything in there. This is the sheet that contains your roster right here. So this is just referring to which sheet your roster's on. As you can see down here is sheet 1. If this had a different name, if I were to rename it at any point, it would be a different name there. It says column containing student email addresses. It recognized that the email addresses are in this column, so make sure that. Column containing excused designation. I'm not really sure what that means. I usually just leave it at first name, and I haven't had any problems. So once you do all that, ignore this strip for now as well, or this checkbox. Leave it open, and select Save Settings. We're going to move on. Alright, so step 2 says choose which documents to copy and distribute. Select the folder that contains your document template. So wherever you save the template that you got from the template gallery, wherever you saved it, in this case I just saved it in my drive, so I would just have to find that folder in here and figure out where it is. Give me a second. I don't see it. Let's see here. I didn't put it in a folder, so just give me a second. I'm going to close this out for a minute. I'm going to actually just put it in a folder somewhere. For some reason, it's not giving me the option for my drive. So I'm going to take my reading log and I'm just going to put it in a folder. Put it in my reading folder. So that way when I go back into my script here, I know where it is. If you ever X out of Doctopus, you can just go to whatever step you ended on as well. Again, it's going to ask me, choose which documents to copy. I know that I just put it in my reading folder, so I'm going to go into my reading folder. It says select the item you want to copy and share. It is a spreadsheet, copy of student reading log, class reading log, reading response choices, and now it's not showing up in there either. Give me a minute. I don't know if it's just working slow or not. Didn't I drop it in there? Copy of student reading log, class reading log. Maybe I put in the wrong one. Okay, now this is getting on my nerves. Where did it go? Hold on. Oh, I moved the... Okay, I remember now. It's called copy of student reading log. Yep, that's it. I got confused. I'm sorry. Okay, one take. Here we go. We'll continue on. So I'm going to go back in my class roster, go to Doctopus. Step 2 is to choose the folder. It's in my reading folder. And the name of the file was copy of student reading log. I was looking for sample of student reading log because I didn't change the name. So copy of student reading log. That's the actual file. Even though this is a form, for some reason it shows spreadsheet because it's also a spreadsheet. I'm going to say save settings. Once you save your settings on that previous screen, it says choose destination folder, set up file naming and notifications. So now what we're doing is we are basically picking where we're going to save all these shared documents on our computer, because it's going to make however many students you have, that's how many files you're going to have. So we created a folder specifically for that, and we called it sample reading log, I believe. There it is. This is where it's important that you keep track of how you're naming files and folders, because it can get very confusing. I usually use dates. I use these numbers in front for my files, and my student files don't have specific letters. Like, for example, social studies here doesn't necessarily have a letter in front of it. So it's sample reading log. So I'm going to go down here, choose sample reading log. Where are you? There it is. Now, it says use these variables to substitute blah blah blah. None of that matters. All that you need to know is that if you select last name here, it's going to take the last name from this column, and that's going to be the first part of your document. So you're going to say last name. I always use the last name. I'm going to copy what this says here. Copy last name. Paste it in that box. So now it's last name. Now what do I want the files to be named? Well, I just want them to be called reading log. Alright, so now I have the students, when they're saved, they will be saved as, in this case it would say student 1 reading log, or student 2 reading log, student 3 reading log. It'll take all the names in this column, and that's what it's going to name it. If you pick first name, it'll say test 1 reading log, test 2 reading log. So I just choose last name. I like last name. That's just what I decide to go with. So if you want to notify the people who you're sharing it with, you can, but you don't have to. I usually don't, because I just tell them in class. So then all you do is hit Save Settings, and you're basically ready to go. And what this will do now, it's going to give you the option to copy and share. I'm not going to do this step because I don't have real email addresses in there, so it's probably going to get confused because I don't have a real email address. So all you do now is you run copy and share, and it'll share this document with every student. Now bear with me for a second. I'm going to go to my reading logs really quick, and I'm going to show you what it'll look like when you're done.